Got up this morning, things weren't working right. I said I wanna make a change. I said I wanna fight.
Disney
Walked up and said yes, we can. I said I wanna ride your nuts, cause I think you're the man. Now I'm dick riding,
for Disney, for Disney,
dick riding,
for Disney, for Disney,
dick riding,
for Disney, for Disney.
dick riding. Dick riding for tomorrow, dick riding for today, dick riding for the straight, dick riding for the gay, dick riding for America, dick riding for rock. It's okay to ride that dick, just as long as it's
The mouse.
and now we're dick riding.
Oh, the joy of shilling. The irrationality of convincing yourself and others that something objectively considered terrible is great. Meanwhile, having the gall to criticize other works which outclass the previously mentioned loathed material. Oh, the irony. Did you think I'd really forget these tweets? You insist that Disney canon is somehow better than the EU. Then you are not in any way a true Star Wars fan. Sorry. I have never in my life seen a more abhorrent and vile assortment of shameless Disney shills than the ones I present to you today. And it just had me boiling. So a while ago, some scrub named Mazlow or something was placed in a discussion with myself and some other EU Legends fans, rapidly going on about how the EU sucks and trying to troll us and rapidly defending Disney's trash canon. So when I hit him up and beckoned him back to these older tweets just to show him how poorly they aged in light of The Last Jedi's travesty of a performance and how panned it was by audiences everywhere, and how it got kicked out of theaters in China. Well, you know, he gets all triggered and obtuse because someone called him out on his shilling bullshit. Honestly, when I looked back at some of these tweets and saw that he was still shilling in the present day, after the atrocity of The Last Jedi, I couldn't help but feel the rage just slowly bubbling towards the surface. And it's like the rage isn't just about a fool who likes Disney Wars. He can have his opinion, whatever, no matter how horrible I think that is. But when you deny the absolute train wreck that the Last Jedi was, and then have the nerve to be dumb enough and ignorant enough to deny the EU's validity as canon, like, you have to be a special kind of retarded. Like, really, you do. This dude had the audacity to basically call into question whether I was black or not because I support Trump. Bitch, do you know me? Do you know me? He then rants about how I'm a racist, sexist menace somehow because I'm calling him out on his nonsense. And it's just, you know, clearly I'm another one of those alt-right baby men who doesn't know about Star Wars just because I'm telling him, and I'm not scared to tell him how it is, that he's shilling for a company that's ruined Star Wars. So what really, really amazes me about this guy is that he claims I'm some sort of apparently I can be a racist, sexist menace, whatever the hell that means. But at the same time, here he is accusing me of pretending to be a black person. Like, doesn't that sound racist to you? Does that sound racist or not? Here I am criticizing him about The Last Jedi, and he's here trying to insult my race, or insult who I am based on my race. like it's consequential to the conversation. So I responded, gee, that's awfully racist. Racist? Why are you pretending to be a Star Wars fan online? It's always fun messing with these shows because they have nothing. They have nothing to do but to dick ride for this multi-billion-dollar company that could give no shits about them. Like, honestly. And then he sits there, and of course all of his clapping seals come to his aid and support him by liking his tweets. He calls me a racist, sexist menace because I say MAGA sometimes in my tweets, and I actually am a Trump fan. I'm not a, oh my god, Trump is a racist. I'm not down with the whole victim narrative. And speaking of which, I fully support Kanye. I'm gonna buy his new album. That dude is dope. Dopamine, if you know what I mean. But yeah, he's the ultimate hypocrite, just like every other Disney show, calling people racist while doing racist things or saying racist things. Like, how does that work? Like, how do you function? Like, how do double thinkers like this function, JRed5, like Mazlow or whatever your name is, pretending to be black? Really? When you interact with one online, you get surprised that they school you. Anyway, I can't tell you how many times I've seen videos titled rants about how The Last Jedi was just awful, and how many videos about the EU have comments about how much better the original EU was compared to what we have now in the new Disney canon. I mean, at first I thought he was just trying to be edgy and troll me, and by saying things like the EU was a pilot and shit, and but then I realized that this idiot has an entire website dedicated to defaming the EU and shilling hardcore for Disney. I mean, how retarded do you have to be to say that the new Disney canon is so much better? Yeah, whenever someone points out that everyone else disagrees with you, and basically that the facts show that this movie was a terrible movie, that is objectively terrible, that it takes good characters and it basically destroys their characters, obliterates them, turns them into nihilistic douchebags, takes the characters from the original trilogy that people claim to love so much and just absolutely destroys them. Oh no, you get triggered. Massively triggered. And you have the nerve to call yourself a Star Wars fan. You don't deserve that title. If you think the canon, which made Luke Skywalker, who's possibly the most central figure in the entire Star Wars universe, into a sniveling coward and a weakling, is somehow better than how he is in the EU. I mean, and the thing is, this dude doesn't even bother to, let's look at his website. I mean, he has his own website. He just dedicates it to spreading misinformation about the EU and trying to promote Disney canon as better than the EU. Even though I know he's never read an EU book in his life. Because if he did, he would never say that. So anyway, let's just take a look at this. Interpreting Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Today, we'd like to discuss, this is his website by the way, spoiledmilk.com or whatever. Today we'd like to discuss the giant elephant in the Star Wars room, Luke Skywalker and The Last Jedi. As it turns out, Rian Johnson gave us a Luke that better than anything we could imagine and truer to the character than anything we got in the old EU. Oh my god, this dude is a freaking idiot. Shocked? Disagree? Spoilers ahead. Oh, look, this is such a clickbait, like, and I'm falling for it too. It's just like, yeah, I just have to. Yeah, the fact that this dude has like 500 followers on Twitter, I mean, it's just like really? Mazlow01. Better than anything we got in the EU. Okay, so what specifically? Ryan, well, then I saw the movie and I sort of saw what Mark meant. Thank goodness Mark and I weren't the writers, because Ryan has actually proven to have understood Luke at a level beyond me, Mark, and almost everyone else. I have heard the arguments against TLJ and I think they don't hold water. Here's why. This list seems to be, oh god. Luke was always a source of hope. Luke was confident. Luke would never have had seen the darkness in Ben and moved to strike him down. Luke isn't the hero I think he should be. I remember from the old EU. Okay. And all these things are true. Because Luke is a source of hope in the movie. He should be. In the old school sci-fi flicks, they were just hopeless, and just like movies would end and leave you, leaving the theater feeling like you needed to like shoot yourself.
We now return to the end of a depressing 1970s sci-fi movie starring a guy in a turtleneck.
We've gone far enough. I think we're safe from the corporation here.
Adzin, look!
It can't be! No! We'll never defeat the corporation! They've won!
There is one way, Adzin. You can shoot yourself.
If it's the only way, I must.
That's how sci-fi films were before Star Wars, before Luke Skywalker. Luke was confident. Luke was scared sometimes. He only became confident as he grew in his skills. So it wasn't, unlike Ma Rae Sue, who is always confident no matter what because she's a strong, independent woman. Luke was willing to sacrifice himself for his friends. True, he was. And then The Last Jedi took all that and screwed it up. But let's see how he's going to shill for Disney this time. Luke was a source of hope and was confident. That doesn't mean he was always hopeful and confident. While his character grew throughout the OT, that doesn't mean he was free of doubts and didn't question himself. No, really? Everyone questions themselves. Yeah. This comes from most clearly in Empire and Return of the Jedi. In Empire, he doubts his ability to raise his X-Wing. I don't believe it. This blah, 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 blah. But he grew to be a more confident Jedi, you say. But he still questioned himself. When they arrive at Endor, Luke questions himself about joining the group to Endor. Luke says, That is why he strikes out and attempts to kill the Emperor. His doubt leads him to believe there is only one course left for him to take. Left for him, attack. Not very Jedi-like. More on that below. While these examples are small, they still show an underlying doubt in part of who Luke is. In The Last Jedi, Luke tells us how he discovered the failures of the Jedi Order and how they allowed the Empire to rise to begin with. He was looking to avoid the mistakes they made, and yet he still allowed the next Vader to rise under his tutelage. That is a crushing blow to someone that, despite his growth, still has and always would have doubts. So this is better than the EU somehow. Because Luke has doubts, so that means that Luke was justified in trying to kill his own nephew in The Last Jedi in the Disney canon. Luke has doubts, so that means that him abandoning trying to raise a new Jedi Order was completely justified, right? I mean, this is just such an insult to the intelligence of Star Wars fans everywhere. Luke has, we all have doubts. We overcome our doubts. Even in the old, I still haven't seen one example of the old EU. Of him comparing it to the old EU. I have not. Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack. Yeah, then tell that to Yoda, who was flipping around with his lightsaber. People often forget this aspect. The actions of a true Jedi involve using the Force as a means of self-defense or defense of others. Yeah, okay. Is this justifying his heel turn of trying to kill Kylo Ren when he thought he was asleep? We're reminded again and again that the most Jedi thing you could do is to throw down your saber and not fight. This is actually a key point in interpreting Rian Johnson's view of the Jedi, which then brings us to the next point. It is a stupid view of the Jedi because, let's be frank, throwing down your weapons and not fighting won't do anything. Enemy will just kill you and kill everything that you're defending. Okay? Even Luke Skywalker realized that a Jedi has to fight at some point. The only reason he threw down his weapon and was trying not to attack the Emperor was because the Emperor was trying to turn him to the dark side. Okay, this entire article is just so far, is just so, like, ill-conceived, and just the points are just, oh my god, they're abysmal. This makes my head hurt. I'm just reading this drivel. Alright, I really don't want to continue, but let's continue. Let's do it anyway. The death of Ben Solo and birth of Kylo Ren also would have shaken Luke to his core, because he knows it is ultimately his fault. We see three versions of what happened when Luke went to Ben's room. In the first, Luke discovers the darkness and lights his blade to protect himself against the attack from Ben. In the second, Luke appears to be about to strike Ben down, and Ben reacts to save himself. In the final and true version, we see Luke feel the darkness in Ben and light his blade, momentarily thinking of striking Ben down, preventing the next Vader, doing what Obi-Wan could not on Mustafar. To interpret Luke's actions, let's consider the vision we must have had, standing over Ben. Oh yes, a true apologist right here. True Disney Wars apologist. He might have seen Ben's future and saw all the countless people that would die at the hands of him. He might have seen Kylo Ren kill Lor San Tekka, or seen him kill Han Solo, two of Luke's closest friends. He might have seen the other Jedi, students at Luke's academy. He might have seen countless others die at the hands of Kylo Ren. It's not too hard to understand that if Luke saw all this death, that the thought, if only for a brief moment, that he could do something to prevent it. And this is better than the EU. This is supposedly what? Better than the EU? Truer than anything we got in the old EU? Really? The guy's father literally killed the entire Jedi Order. Okay. Literally killed the entire, just about like 92% of the Jedi Order in the original EU. Okay. And you're telling me if he can forgive him, if he can redeem him, you're telling me that he wouldn't try with his son? I mean, or with not his son, because it's Ben Solo now apparently. With his nephew? Really? This is just making excuses for a poorly written mess of a film. It isn't even the slightest consistent with the previous material. Not in the slightest. Where does he even talk about the EU? He does not talk about the EU in this entire article, except for like one sentence. One sentence. This dude knows nothing about the Star Wars EU. He doesn't even reference anything about the EU that was like terrible or objectively terrible or something in comparison to, because he knows that he's wrong. Or he just doesn't know anything about the EU. But no, he's on here telling me that I'm triggered or whatever because I get upset when people lie. That upsets me. If you knew something about a subject, I told him up front, like, yo, quit pretending to be an authority on this subject. You're not. Okay? I read this article. You're not an authority on to speak on the subject of the EU. If you knew what you were talking about, alright, then I might have a shred of respect for this. All he says is, in this paragraph, for some reason people believe that Luke would and should have gone running to help the Resistance the second he knew Leia wanted him back and Han had died. This is based on his actions in Empire and the mistaken idea that Luke gave himself up at Jabba's and to Vader as a distraction. Jabba's was all part of the plan and had multiple sub-plans within it. You can read all about that here, and the next idea is that Luke gave himself up on Endor as a distraction. I have no idea where this thought came from. It's not in any EU book, the novelization, or the movie. Luke was going to save Vader, or at least try, and that is his only reason for giving himself up. Luke doesn't leave Octo because he believes it's the best thing he can do it for his friends, the Resistance, and the galaxy at large. In Luke's lifetime, the Jedi Order and its failures have been the cause of the biggest threats to peace and prosperity in the galaxy. In galaxy, not in the galaxy. In galaxy. His birth marked the death of the Republic and thousands of Jedi to the Sith, and that they could not stop. To the Sith that they could not stop, and who they unknowingly worked with. Not only that, the Jedi trained 2 of the 3 apprentices to Lord Sidious. Then Luke trained Ben, who became Kylo Ren, and it is implied that Luke also trained the other Knights of Ren, Jedi students that weren't killed by Kylo. In short, what Luke ultimately realized was that the Jedi are the underlying cause of all the pain in the galaxy. By staying out of it and not training Rey, he was preventing himself from creating even more of that pain. How is this truer than the EU? How? How is this truer than the EU? How? I would like to know. And this is reason for Luke to quit? This is reason for Luke to give up? Really? And you call the EU a pile of trash? Really? You realize what Luke went through in the original expanded universe? One of his first apprentices turned to the dark side, and he did everything in his power to redeem him. His own nephew, in the original EU, Jason Solo, turned to the dark side. He tried to redeem him, but in the end, his sister had no choice but to kill him. Because he had already killed his own aunt. He was gonna go on a rampage. He had already tortured Ben. Skywalker. He caused another civil war, yeah, and basically had no choice. He wouldn't surrender. He wouldn't come back to the Order, so had no choice. Luke dealt with all that emotional trauma and still didn't give up. He did not give up on the Jedi Order. And you're telling me Luke is going to be, oh my god, people turn to the dark side. Oh man, I guess I should just give up now. No. In the original EU, Luke realized that the heavy restrictions that the old Jedi Order were imposing on people, they essentially stripped people of their personhood. Okay? Of their ability to feel passion, compassion, to live. And they were stagnant. The old Jedi Order was stagnant. And the Sith offered some kind of alternative to that. And that's why that's why they had so many Jedi who sought knowledge and who sought to advance themselves became Sith. They wanted to feel alive, like they could have control or power over their own destinies, and they wouldn't get chastised or brought down because of it. That's why so many Jedi. That's why they had some Jedi in the old EU turn to the dark side. And it's not like, oh my god, like every Jedi is like destined to fall, and so you know what? Oh well, I guess I should just quit. No. This is not true to Luke's character at all. Even in the original EU, he had doubts about taking on his first apprentice. He had doubts about taking on his first Padawan learner. But that didn't stop him ultimately from listening to what the Force tells him. And this EU, this new Luke, he shuts himself off from all of that. That's a form of cowardice. How are you going to go from trusting the Force completely and sensing that there's good in your father and not sensing that there's good within Ben, not reassuring him, and acting worse than Yoda, trying to actually kill him, or actually considering killing him, after he didn't even do anything yet. This is just the next level of stupid. The final complaint, that Luke's actions were not of a hero. Let me say two things. First, Luke's final actions were extremely heroic and extremely Jedi. Luke found a way to help the Resistance and not attack Ben at the same time. Wow. Through complete cowardice, by projecting himself across the galaxy. By not having the courage to stand in front of your enemy. Ben may have thought that Luke was there to kill him, but in reality, Luke wasn't even there. Luke pulled probably one of the most difficult Force moves ever, and sacrificed himself to save others while not attacking anyone. Very Jedi. Second, let's imagine if Luke was 100% heroic and pure in TLJ. Can you imagine the other complaints that Luke was too perfect a Gary Stew? Luke was never a perfect hero. He had some weaknesses and some doubts, and this is why he is a more complex and interesting character. This feels like it was written by like a middle schooler. Just the thought process is just being extrapolated here. It's just like I feel like I'm reading some middle schooler or high schooler's essay, and it's excruciatingly obvious that this person has no idea what happens to Luke in the EU, no idea of the struggles Luke faced in the EU, no idea what a Gary Stu and a Mary Sue are, because Luke is not that. Luke is not a Mary Sue or Gary Stu. This is 30 years after The Last Jedi. This is 30 years after Return of the Jedi, and Luke has. We know it should be inferred that Luke has I mean, we can deduce that Luke has clearly been training. It hasn't just been slacking off. You know, he's got a whole new Jedi Order. That's one of the things that I was hyped about when I first heard about the possibility of a sequel trilogy, was seeing Grandmaster Luke in the new Jedi Order and how different it would be. Because we as EU fans know how different it was. We know that it wasn't just the same old stagnant Jedi Order that won't let you get married, won't let you experience passion, or hold on to anything. We know that. And this guy can't cite a single EU source to compare the Luke from The Last Jedi. Still, I have not seen one. Not one. And he has the audacity to be like, oh, it's better than truer than anything we got in the old EU. This guy is a shill. This guy is a shill. The highest order. Luke pulled it. Dude, you realize that causing an illusion shouldn't be enough to kill you. Just because you're so tired. Oh, that illusion took a lot out of me. Oh, you know what? I guess I'm a croak now. Like, it was just so stupid the way they showed him die. And I saw that scene online. I didn't watch the whole movie at once, but I did see scenes from online when I heard that Luke had died. Okay? I thought that was the biggest missed opportunity that Disney could ever have, was to have that scene. And every fan hated it. Every fan hated it. Right now, I'm looking at Ultimate Rant, 50 Reasons Why The Last Jedi Sucks. Star Wars The Last Jedi Sucks rant. Like, how many more videos do we have to see of this crap before these idiots stop shilling? Alright? Stop dick riding for Disney. Alright? And realize, or just admit, that this series, that everything Disney has put out about Star Wars has been abysmal. It hasn't been true to the original characterizations. Matter of fact, it destroys the original trilogy, okay, instead of preserving it forever. And it just absolutely decimates a much beloved franchise. And it's actually sad to see just how much reach these shills have, because it's just like the vast majority of fans don't feel this way, but somehow this guy is just like stuck in his ways. Like, no, The Last Jedi was awesome. Like, you gotta believe me, dude. Like check this out. Like, you know, even though common sense of the general audience is largely against this film, this guy still is looking for a way to shill for Disney and run damage control for Disney. You know, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I never want to be, as a Star Wars fan, I never want to be lumped in with this clown or any other shows for that matter. No shows, please. None of you guys. You guys, you know, I already exposed a couple of you, you know, and now I'm exposing this one. So I don't know who's next on the list. I've already been blocked by a couple shows on Twitter for calling them out on their shilling ways. So yeah, I'm real. You know, and if I see you shilling, you know, talking about the EU like you know what you're talking about, and then you come up and say, oh, you know, The Last Jedi was the best thing ever. Nope. without realizing the flaws, and like you haven't even really addressed these criticisms. You've just been like, oh, Luke has doubts. Yeah, okay. So get over those doubts and go and save the day. That's what you are. You are Luke Skywalker. You know, you're Jedi Master. You don't quit, man. It was just such a heel turn for like no reason. Luke saw his aunt and uncle die. You know, he's seen death before. He's experienced these things. You know, and instead of making him stronger, somehow it makes him quit the Jedi Order. Makes him quit his dreams and aspirations. No. No. It was such a slap in the face to every Star Wars fan, and the fact that he's just sitting there and being like, oh well, a universe where Luke actually makes a whole Jedi Order is unfathomable, and it was just like my brain cells were just dropping. I felt them slowly just fade away. That's how it felt like. It's like I felt like I was gradually getting dumber the more I was reading this article, this poorly written article. And guys, just whatever you do, please, like, call these shows out. Call them out. Call them what they are. Shameless shills for Disney. It's your boy Kosa. I don't know what else to say, man. It's sad because as much as I love the franchise, kind of glad to see it suffering a little bit, because fans are waking up slowly but surely to the fact that Disney was never good for this franchise. Disney has only served to destroy the characters that people love, while the EU served to build up these characters and expand upon them. And Disney has only taken them down and destroyed them. Okay? Disney serves you expectations, and then when you go see the movie, it totally destroys all of your expectations and hopes and dreams. And it kills off your favorite characters too. So this fool, I mean, he can say whatever he wants, but if it's not factual, it doesn't make a lick of difference. So this movie was objectively terrible. The Last Jedi was objectively bad filmmaking. Okay, it's I mean, there are some things you do in film that, and I, as a filmmaker, film editor, video editor, and film critiquer, I know these things. There are certain things that you don't do, especially in a big franchise like Star Wars. As a Star Wars fan, as an avid Star Wars fan, you do not mess with Luke. You do not give Luke a coward's death. You do not give, you do not make Luke just some kind of sniveling coward who can't even face his enemy. Even in the end, he couldn't face his enemy. Right? He couldn't even face. He couldn't even have. He couldn't even face his enemy. It was truly pathetic. And what purpose did he ultimately serve in the movie? Like the other guy said, he went out like a fart in the wind. You know, and it was truly pathetic. But Rey is supposed to jump in and save the day, so swinging her lightsaber all over Anakin's lightsaber all over the place, slicing off hands and heads and whatever. Yeah, she's supposed to save the day, I guess. I don't freaking know. Anyway, this idiot, he says the EU sucks, and the new books are so much better. But yeah, it was the original EU that set a Guinness Book World Records for sales. So I mean, nothing that Disney's EU has done has been memorable, and it will continue to be unmemorable, or Is that a word? Not memorable. And it will continue to suck, and its ratings will continue to drop, even though it'll probably still sell because it has a Star Wars logo slapped onto it for, you know, useful idiots like yourself. But yeah, it's interesting that you call this dude had the nerve to call the EU fan fiction when The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi actively use fan fiction in their plots and scripts. It's almost like you can't. It's like what is it called? Poe's law. When someone is so stupid you can't tell if they're actually that stupid or if they're just joking. It's basically like that, and I can't tell if this is just a parody, just a parody, or if this guy is he really this stupid? Like, the EU sucked, George didn't care about it, and it's just like there were so many things that, yeah, in the statement from that I hear from so many people. Okay, the EU was canon. It was always canon. George Lucas said it in the beginning of Splinter in the Mind's Eye that he left it off to other writers. That was his plan, to leave the EU to other writers while he would approve the work. Okay, and he even acknowledged it. He made sure that the EU functioned around what he wanted, and that he would incorporate elements of his expanded universe into his franchise, because he would always like listen to the people that would handle the EU, listen to their story treatments for these characters, because he basically had a universe full of characters that he wasn't using, that were already set there and set and ready to be used. Aayla Secura, look, a bunch of other EU characters. This guy is a freaking idiot. Just like every other EU hater, just like every other Disney show. They don't know what they're talking about. They like to pretend they're an authority on a subject they don't know anything about. And they like to dick ride for Disney. Okay. It's your boy Kos. I'll check in with more Shills later. But like, comment, subscribe, man. Feel free to check out my Star Wars Legends clothing store on TeePublic and get some cool Star Wars Legends gear. Alright, cool. It's your boy Kos signing off. Peace.